Hello, romance book lovers. Welcome to Tales from the Heart. I'm Jenna Harte, and each week I post new episodes from my stories of crime and passion. Right now, we're listening to Till Death Do Us Part, book 4, The Valentine Mysteries. This week is episode 2, chapter 2. Now, if you'd like to read along or get ahead in the story, you can get Till Death Do Us Part from your favorite ebook retailer, or you can save by buying direct from me. Till Death Do Us Part is the 4th book in the Valentine Mystery series, and if you missed book 1, Deadly Valentine, you can listen by checking earlier episode postings, or if you'd like to read it for free, you can get Deadly Valentine for free through my website at jennaharte.com. Books 2 and 3, Old Flames Never Die, and With This Ring I Thee Kill are also available in earlier episode postings, or to read through your favorite ebook retailer, or again for less through my shop. Tales from the Heart is posted to YouTube and podcasts each week. These episodes are edited to censor intimate content. If you'd like to have a version that includes the spicy bits, plus get early access, behind-the-scenes information about the stories, bonus content, and more, please join my free exclusive sweetheart group over at jennaharte.com. Now, never miss the mystery or romance by hitting the subscribe button, and remember that all the details and links you might need are just a click away in the description. Now snuggle up, get comfy, and enjoy the show.
Chapter 2. Jack cursed at the little man on the TV screen as it fell into the fiery pit. Of course, it wasn't the little warrior's fault. Jack was thinking about Tess and her new lingerie when he should have been watching out for the Gorgon. Now he was dead. Again. He considered reloading the game but checked his watch and determined Tess would be home soon, hopefully ready to model her new acquisition. They'd have to be quick if they were going to be on time to Ava's gathering. Jack could do it quick, when it was necessary. But first he probably needed to apologize for not giving her the details, or the lack of details in this case, about his relationship with Ava. Not that the topic had come up more than once. Although he and Ava were friends, their lives were so busy that they rarely talked. But Tess probably thought, as the rest of the world did, that he and Ava had been romantically connected, and he knew he needed to apologize to Tess for not clearing that up with her sooner. Maybe she'd let him make it up to her. He turned his chair back to his desk and typed up notes on the new Greek mythology game his team of developers was creating. He typed in a few key ideas when he heard Tess's car coming up the drive. He hit the save option and powered down his computer.
"Did you beat the Gorgon?"
Tess asked, leaning against the doorframe of his office. He saw the black and pink bag that he knew held the pretty little piece of silk he'd bought for her that day. He grinned.
"She pushed me into the fiery pit. I could use a little soothing."
He gave her a long face. She smiled, but it didn't hide that something was on her mind.
"You'll never guess who came into the shop today."
She went to him, setting the bag on his desk. He pulled her into his lap.
"Who?"
Amya Gross.
Jack's hand stopped mid-caress on Tess's thigh.
"Amya Gross. You're sure it was her?"
She nodded.
"I'd know her anywhere, and her name was on her credit card."
"She bought lingerie?"
Jack considered the possibilities this brought about, such as did Amya know of his relationship with Ava and was somehow hunting Ava down through Tess.
She said she wanted to surprise her husband.
Jack felt sick. Although Ava talked a brave talk about being over Reese, he knew deep down she still loved him, which meant that despite what she said, she wondered if their reunion might result in something more than a movie.
"I was trying to figure out if she's shown up here without him knowing, thinking she can try to seduce him back. But then I thought that was crazy. Why would a woman take that kind of risk? Showing up out of the blue at her estranged husband's workplace? That means he has to know she's here, right?"
"I have no idea."
At the moment, he didn't care about Amya or Reese.
"You have to call Ava and warn her, don't you think?"
He nodded.
"Yes."
It was the last call in the world he wanted to make. He felt Tess's hands on his face, forcing him to look at her.
"She's lucky to have you."
He smiled. She kissed him. It wasn't the kiss he'd been planning to have that afternoon, but it would have to do.
"I'm going upstairs to get ready for tonight."
"I'll call Ava and then be up."
He watched Tess walk out of his office, the little black and pink bag that had held all the adventure for that evening dangling from her fingertips. He sighed and picked up the phone. When he finished his call, he was more worried than he had been before he picked up the phone. Ava's string of expletives would have made any veteran Navy man proud, but Jack knew her outburst could easily become physical. Knowing all the items in her hotel room were at risk for breakage, he made arrangements to meet her sooner in her room instead of later in the lobby of the hotel. He headed upstairs to let Tess know they needed to leave earlier than planned. He found her in a silky robe comparing two dresses. He would have done anything to be able to divest her of the robe and spend the remainder of the night focused on her, but that would have to wait.
How'd it go?
She asked, turning to him.
As well as could be expected. I told her we'd come down as soon as possible.
That bad, huh?
She's probably destroying her room as we speak.
Destroying her room?
Ava has a temper. She's had anger management counseling throughout the years, but Amya is a trigger Ava hasn't ever been able to control.
Then I guess we better hurry. Which do you think?
She held the two dresses up to show him.
I like the bronze one.
You don't think it's too tight around my backside?
One dark brow rose.
Is that possible?
You can't be trusted.
She grinned at him as she hung the bronze dress on the hook on the wall and put the other back on the rod. He stepped to her, taking her in his arms. He leaned forward, brushing his lips over the sweet spot on her neck just below her ear.
We don't have time for that.
Just a nibble,
he said. She pleased him by sighing into his kiss.
I want to apologize for not giving you the details about Ava's and my relationship.
That was a little mean.
In my defense, she rarely came up in conversation.
I asked you about her back in February when we first saw each other again at Ace's party.
The same party where you let me think you and Daniel were an item.
She gave him a sheepish grin.
But you knew it wasn't true.
I suspected it wasn't true, at least at the time, but I didn't know what sort of relationship you had with him before. You never told me.
You didn't want to know,
she said defensively.
I didn't want to know if the answer was that you'd had an intimate relationship with him. I wouldn't have minded knowing that you hadn't.
I would have liked to have known you and Ava hadn't.
I know, and I'm sorry I didn't think to say something sooner. What can I do to make it up to you?
I'll think of something.
Her coy smile let him know he'd like whatever punishment she thought up.
The Jefferson Inn was one of the oldest buildings in Jefferson Tavern, Virginia. It started as a tavern where important people met in the 18th century. It could boast that not only George Washington slept there, but so had Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, and James Monroe. Over the years, owners expanded it, and now it was a popular luxury hotel getaway for the powerful and rich out of Washington, D.C., while still retaining his historic charm. The top floor held a series of suites currently rented for the main stars in the movie being filmed in the area. Jack took a deep breath as he knocked on Ava's door. It opened, but Ava wasn't on the other side.
Josh,
Jack said.
Hi, Jack. She's finishing up.
Josh said, as he stepped aside to let Jack and Tess in.
Tess, this is Josh Abbott, Ava's assistant. This is my wife, Tess.
Tess shook Josh's hand, wondering how many powerful women had male assistants, especially one who looked as young as Josh did, with his round babyish face and husky build.
How is she?
Jack asked.
The only casualty is a Voss.
Not as bad as I expected.
Definitely could have been worse.
Josh agreed.
Ava ordered champagne. Should I pour you some?
We can wait for her.
The bathroom door opened and Ava stepped out, looking exactly like the glamorous celebrity she was. Her russet hair hung in long waves, and her black sequined dress clung to every curve that had made Ava the sex symbol she was.
I thought I heard the door,
she said.
Tess, that dress is gorgeous on you.
Thank you. You look beautiful too.
Nothing like a little rage to put color on the cheeks, eh, Jack?
I hear only a vase suffered.
She glanced at Josh.
I wouldn't have believed him if he said nothing was destroyed.
Jack added. She laughed.
I guess not. I'm in control now. However, I can't guarantee what will happen if she crashes this party.
That's why we're here,
Tess said.
I'll go see what the word is,
Josh said, moving toward the door.
The word?
Tess asked.
You can't be the only one to have seen Amya.
Ava explained.
He's going to put an ear to the ground to see what others might know.
I saw Karen earlier,
Josh said.
I'll see if I can find her.
Karen is Reese's assistant. If Amya is skulking around, Karen will know.
Ava told Jack and Tess.
I'll see you downstairs.
She said to Josh.
Want champagne?
She asked once he left.
Sure.
Jack said.
So, did Jack tell you all my secrets?
Ava passed the champagne to Jack to uncork the bottle.
I guess a few.
Tess wasn't sure what was okay to admit to knowing.
I told her everything, including your penchant for destruction when you're provoked.
Jack popped the cork and poured the bubbly into the glasses Ava held out to him.
Provoked is the key word. I cannot believe that woman came into your shop. I can't believe she's here. Then again, she always had a lot of nerve.
Do you think she and Reese are reconciling?
Jack asked.
I don't know. She got her hooks into him once, so who knows?
Fans were surprised about their marriage.
Tess said.
Everyone who knew Reese was surprised, but he was a little off after his brother died. She just swooped in and grabbed him up when he was vulnerable.
How did Reese and Amya know each other?
Jack asked.
Amya would say she was Drew's friend. Drew was Reese's brother. He'd probably dispute that. God, Drew was awesome. His death was such a loss. Reese was so close to him.
She paused, as if she were remembering a different time.
Anyway, when Drew died, Amya arrived like a heat-seeking missile to comfort him.
Ava downed her entire glass of champagne.
Did you ever find out why Reese treated you so poorly?
Jack asked. Ava shook her head.
And at this point, I don't care.
She said it with a little too much vehemence to be true, Tess thought.
So why the movie?
Jack asked. Ava shrugged.
The pay is awesome. I mean, way more than usual. The script is great. It's a modern Hitchcock-type film, Til Death Do Us Part. Great title, right?
Jack's expression suggested he wasn't buying her reasoning.
Reese wanted me in this movie, probably to help salvage his image. Anyone who knows Amya isn't surprised he dumped her ass, but to do it after their son died looks bad. A reunion between us will put fans back on his side. And did I mention the money?
You don't need money.
Jack challenged her.
But I also get to work with Jim McDermott. He's a ladies' man, Tess, so watch out. He'll sniff around you for sure tonight, but he's a fabulous actor. Georgina Tipton and Susie Patterson are in it too.
Have you talked to Reese yet?
No.
Ava poured another glass of champagne.
What sort of movie is it?
Tess asked.
The real question you both want to know is if it requires a love scene between Reese and my character, which of course, it does. That's what the audience wants to see. If I pull this off, it will be Oscar material for sure.
But at what cost?
Jack asked. Ava turned away.
The price is worth it.
Jack's eyes narrowed.
So it's a test?
Tess said.
If you can do this, you'll be able to move on.
Ava turned back.
I guess only a woman understands.
Actually, Jack understands that too.
Tess looked up at him.
It's like when you made me face Brad.
He nodded, but she could tell he didn't see their situations as being equal. He was probably right. All Tess had to do was face Brad to see how much she didn't need him or his family. But for Ava, it would be worse to have to pretend to love him, to be held by him, even as a farce. The knock on the door stopped any remark Jack might have had.
I wonder if that's Josh.
Ava reached for the knob. The door was barely open before she slammed it shut. Tess jerked in surprise.
Reese?
Jack asked. Ava tapped the end of her nose with her forefinger.
Ava, we have to talk.
Reese's voice came through the door.
You have to face him.
Jack said.
Would you rather do it here in private or during a gathering where everyone will be watching?
Tess was certain that by everyone Jack really meant Amya.
Come on, Ava.
Reese said. She made a face and opened the door.
Reese.
Her voice was cool, distant. She stepped back to let him in.
Are you alone?
Yes.
He stopped a few steps into the room when he saw Jack and Tess.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize you had guests.
You remember Jack?
Ava said.
Yes.
Reese reached out to shake Jack's hand, but to Tess's eye, he didn't look happy to see Jack. She wondered if he believed Jack and Ava had been more than friends like everyone else did.
This is my wife, Tess.
How do you do?
Tess said, shaking Reese's hand. At one time in her life, Reese was her pick to be the man she'd bring with her on a deserted island. In person, he was just as handsome with dark hair, steel gray eyes, and a je ne sais quoi that drew women to him. But now that she knew more about him, and of course, now that she had Jack, she had no need for Reese.
I was hoping we could speak alone.
Reese said.
Should we?
Tess started. Jack squeezed her hand and gave her a nearly imperceptible shake of his head.
If you have something to say, my friends can hear it,
Ava said. Reese took a deep breath, and for a long moment just stared at Ava.
I thought a lot about what I'd say when I saw you again. I can't seem to find the words now.
An actor without a script. Tragic.
Ava busied herself with champagne, as if she didn't care if Reese was there or not. But Tess could see Ava was struggling.
I know I owe you an apology for how things ended. I was angry. You break things. I reject people.
She whirled on him.
Angry? For what?
Come on, Ava. I'm here to admit that I did wrong. You can't pretend you didn't have a part in it.
Ava stared at him in bafflement.
I'm not pretending anything, Reese. All I know is that you showed up on set that last day, ignored me, and left without a goodbye. I can't imagine what I did to warrant that. We had plans.
She turned away, as if she said more than she wanted.
Really? You're going to stand there and pretend you didn't have an affair with my brother?
Her bafflement exploded into shock as she whipped back around to confront him.
You're crazy. Seriously, Reese, you're certifiable. I can only imagine who told you that. Amya?
Number he did.
Drew was dead by then. Did he visit you in spirit?
A letter. It was in a box of things his attorney had left. I hadn't gone through them until the show was ending and I was getting ready to move to Europe.
I know where you were going. I was going too.
I was going through his things, figuring out what to throw away or store, and I found the letter. Ava, he apologizes to me for sleeping with you.
It's a lie.
Shaken, Ava sat down.
You're calling Drew a liar?
She shook her head.
I never slept with him, Reese.
You spent a lot of time with him.
I spend a lot of time with male friends I don't sleep with. I've been friends with Jack forever and never slept with him.
Reese's eyes shot up to Jack's. Tess couldn't tell if Reese was relieved or annoyed at the news.
Amya did this.
Ava found her strength and stood.
She was helping you that day, wasn't she? She probably put the letter there. Think about it, Reese. Even if you thought I would sleep with your brother, Drew would never ever hurt you like that.
Reese shifted, his face showing pain.
You thought I slept with Drew, so you got back at me. You treated me like dirt and then slept with Amya, the only woman in the world I despised. You fell right into her plan.
It wasn't a conspiracy, Ava.
Reese said.
Wasn't it? I never slept with Drew. You know I'm right that he'd never do that. I'd never do that, and yet you get a letter while she's there helping you? She's there to comfort you. She gets pregnant by you. You, the guy who slept with so many women a condom company wanted you to endorse their product. And after one time with you, she ends up pregnant?
Although Tess had been interested in the exchange, she was starting to get uncomfortable. She felt like a voyeur. She tugged lightly on Jack's arm.
I think Tess and I will wait.
No.
Ava's eyes pleaded with them not to leave. Was she afraid of Reese, Tess wondered? Or was she afraid she might forgive him? Reese ran his fingers through his dark hair. This time, he was the one to sink onto the couch.
I was drinking. Amya took advantage and manipulated.
He let his words hang. Tess knew it had to be hard for him to admit being taken in by a woman like Amya.
If she planted that letter, I'll...
What? What will you do, Reese? You can't even divorce her.
I am divorcing her.
Ha!
She strode to the other side of the room, flung open the door of her minibar, and grabbed several tiny bottles of liquor.
What?
Reese asked.
Amya came into my shop.
Tess explained.
She bought lingerie. She's planning a romantic evening with her husband.
Ava said with bitterness. Jack went to Ava, taking the miniature bottles from her hand.
They probably won't hurt anyone, but I don't want you throwing them around.
I don't want to throw them. I want to drink them.
When they're empty, you'll throw them. I know you.
She made a face at Jack, but then turned her attention to Reese.
Are you still here? Shouldn't you be with your wife?
Reese shot to his feet.
She's not my wife, and if she's here, I'll get rid of her.
Good luck with that.
Ava said.
What's that supposed to mean?
Amya is like a bad penny. She'll always turn up.
Sounds like stalking.
Tess said.
I've always thought she's a psychopath.
That's a little strong.
Reese said. Ava's eyes flashed anger. Tess couldn't blame her. She remembered Jack once defending an old flame and how she hated it.
What would you call it when someone is able to project the appearance of perfection, but underneath it all is manipulating and coercing people to do her bidding, all to get to you? You know it's true, Reese. Or maybe you need to talk to Josh again to get a little reminder.
Tess wondered what Josh had to do with this situation. Reese let out a long breath. He appeared beaten, resigned. Finally, he looked Ava in the eyes.
I loved you. I wanted to run away with you. Even now, even after trying to forget, I can't seem to stop loving you.
Shaken, Ava stumbled back.
I know I ruined that, but I wanted you to know.
The scene unfolded in front of Tess like a movie, except if it were, Ava would have gone to him and they would live happily ever after.
You can't tell me that now. Not now. Please go.
He watched her with pain etched on his handsome face. It appeared he wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. Instead, he left.
You all right?
Jack asked. Ava turned. Tears drew streaks through her makeup down her cheeks.
He's a bastard,
she managed.
You always wondered, now you know.
Jack said.
He got to you.
Tess knew what it was like when a man could get through all the layers, past all the walls to the heart. As good as it felt, it could be painful and scary too.
It doesn't matter. Even if he wanted to rekindle an old flame, Amya would never let it happen. She'll be dead before he's ever really free of her.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode from Tales from the Heart. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you'll be back to find out what happens next. Remember, members of my Sweetheart group can listen to full uncensored episodes through my website. Just visit jennaharte.com and click to become a Sweetheart for access to uncensored audio podcasts, bonus content, and more. If you'd like to read along or get ahead in the story, you can get Till Death Do Us Part from your favorite ebook retailer or save by buying direct from me. All the details and links you might need are just a click away in the description. Make sure you don't miss the next episode. Hit the subscribe button so you know when it's posted. Thank you again for listening, and until next time, this is Jenna Harte wishing you peace, love, and happily ever after.